Mpofu.
Okay,
I see the head of Advocate Bauer. Advocate Bauer.
My apologies. I didn't understand Advocate Mpofu this morning to indicate that he would be continuing with the cross-examination. I understood that he was going to come in with what he was going to place on the record. I know we're not operating as a court of law. It isn't ordinarily the case that a witness gets cross-examined by two counsel, but if that is going to be allowed in the committee, I'm just noting.
Okay, no, thank you for pointing that out, Advocate Bauer. Yes, also as you are indicating that this is a different platform, not necessarily a court of law. So he did indicate at the beginning that Advocate Chabalala will start and then he will conclude. So I will allow it, and then we can deal with that later in whatever way we deal with it. So I'm going to let him proceed. Advocate Mpofu, please proceed.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Well, as you say, Chair, it was mentioned first thing in the morning, and Advocate Chabalala more than once also mentioned it. So I don't understand what the problem is now. But anyway, Ms. Thejane, I was saying that I'm just going to cover some of the ground as I explained in the morning. I just want to get one thing out of the way. You agree, don't you, that the entirety of your affidavit is based on your response to charge 4? That's what it says. If someone reads this, they will understand that its foundation is charge 4, correct?
Correct.
And that you've explained that charge 4 was not put by you, that was put by the evidence leaders, correct?
Correct.
And you yourself had never read charge 4 in actual fact, correct?
Not what was shown or projected, no.
No, you had not read charge 4, whether it was shown or projected or not. But when you did this affidavit, you had not read charge 4, correct?
Correct.
Good. And therefore, as Advocate Chabalala said, then the entire, if the foundation of the house is false, then the whole house must fall. You would agree with that metaphor, correct?
No.
You don't agree with that metaphor, that if the foundation is shaky and brittle, then the whole house is likely not to last?
No, not in this context.
No, I'm not in the context of construction. Do you agree that if the foundation is baseless, then the house or building will likely fall flat?
Well, it depends if the foundation is total.
Pardon?
I'm saying if the foundation is totally flawed, that it cannot be repaired.
Yes.
Yes, then
Correct.
I would agree with you.
Yeah, all right. Then it won't help us to say, let's deal with the first floor, the second floor, the third floor. The whole building will just fall apart, correct?
Correct, suppose so.
Yes. Now, okay, that was in construction. Now let's come back to your affidavit. So your affidavit is based on, if you go to paragraph 4, that will be Chairperson 4345.
4345.
Yes. Are you there, ma'am?
Yes, I am.
Yes. Okay. You see that the foundation, your foundation is actually a double foundation. Not only do you mention charge 4 in paragraph 3, but also if you go to paragraph 4, That's the part that Mr. Chabalala said I was going to deal with. He said it is further alleged in charge 4 of the motion that the PP had committed misconduct or demonstrated incompetence in the performance of her duties or failing to do so, the various things alleged as set out from paragraph 11.1 to 11.4 of the motion. You see that?
Yes, I do.
And since we know that you had not read the motion, then that reference is also not yours, correct?
Yes, it is. That's correct.
What's correct? I'm saying, ma'am.
Sorry, I'm responding.
Okay, let me answer the question. Maybe I didn't understand your answer. I'm saying there in paragraph 4, the further solidification of the foundation, to continue that metaphor, there you go on to refer to, you say the various things alleged and set out from paragraph 11.1 to 11.4 of the motion. I'm saying that you don't know what those things are, correct?
No, I don't.
Yes, and therefore the second layer, if you like, of the foundation of your affidavit is also false. So we know what happens in construction. We'd expect the same thing to happen here, correct?
No, I don't agree. That is why I said you can use the analogy in construction, but I do not agree with you.
Okay, fine. Let's forget about construction. So if somebody reads this affidavit, just an innocent bystander, and it says its foundation on paragraphs 3 and 4 is the charge 4 of the motion, and then you go further and saying not only charge 4, but also the various things alleged and set out from paragraphs 11.1 to 11.4 of the motion. That person would be forgiven for thinking that you have read the motion, correct?
Correct.
But that person would be wrong because you have not read the motion, correct?
If you look at it that way, however, what I have presented in my affidavit speaks to charge 4 in terms of the victimization and the intimidation of staff. So that is what I was responding to.
Yes, no, we'll come to that, madam. I'm saying to you something much simpler. You and I have agreed that someone reading this affidavit will accept that its foundations, at least you and I have agreed, is charge 4. Correct?
Correct.
They'll also find that its further foundation are, quote unquote, the various things alleged and set out from paragraph 11.1 to 11.4 of the motion. Correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
May I
now, I'm saying,
yes.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Sorry.
No,
I can't see. Okay. Now, I'm saying that innocent person would be, that impression they would be getting would be false, because they would be thinking that you have read these things because you put them there under oath. But that would be a false impression on the part of that innocent bystander, correct?
Necessarily not, because what I have provided in my affidavit is incidents that speak to charge 4. So that is why I was saying, if the contention outright is that based on that, it means what is contained in the evidence does not speak to charge 4, then that would be incorrect to my understanding.
Okay, I'm asking you this for the last time because it's either you're evading the question or you don't understand it. I'm not asking, I know what's in charge 4. Everyone knows except you, maybe. We can show it to you. That's not the point I'm making to you. I'm making a different point, ma'am. I'm saying to you, you have agreed that a person reading your affidavit would assume that you have read the charges falsely, wrongly. That assumption would be wrong. Yes or no?
Well, you have now said I would have read falsely, wrongly. Can you just reiterate or repeat your statement?
Okay, all right.
Yes.
I'll rephrase it. I'm saying, ma'am, you and I have agreed that an innocent person, if I take someone from the street and I give them your affidavit and they read the first 4 paragraphs, they will assume that Mr. Thejane is a person who had read charge 4 and the various things alleged in 11.1 and 11.4 of the motion. Agreed?
Agreed.
But that impression on that person would be wrong, because in actual fact, you have not read those things, correct?
Yes, it's correct. It's correct, but charge 4 has been paraphrased.
I'm sorry, ma'am. What is paraphrased? What are you saying now?
That is fine. We can continue.
So you agree with me?
I agree.
Thank you. Right. Now, and it is that, so just for, I'm sorry to belabor this. As you are sitting there, those words, the various things alleged and set out from 11.1 to 11.4 of the motion mean nothing. It could be Greek to you, it could be nothing. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, D, X. You don't know what those various things are, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Okay. And therefore, those words basically were put in your mouth, correct?
Well, I wouldn't use those words.
Okay, which word you can use whichever words you like. Those words were not your words. They came from the author of this document. Let's put it nicely. Correct?
Yes, correct.
Yes. All right. And even the individual words in paragraph 4, where you talk up, where you say she intimidated, harassed, and or victimized staff. Those are not your words. They are from the author. Correct?
That is correct. But I've signed it. I've read it, so I can associate with it.
Okay, fair enough. So you associate yourself with the author of this document. That's as high as you can take it, correct?
Yes, as far as I can attest to those parts of charge 4.
No, ma'am. Let's take it step by step. I'm saying the words that are used in paragraph 4, that the public protector intimidated, harassed, and victimized staff, are the words of the author with which you associate yourself as well, but they are not your words, correct?
Yes, that's correct. But I was then saying, to the extent I was requested then to provide information, that is to the extent I associate myself with those words.
Yeah. Now, and that is what Advocate Shabalala was trying to put to you. You accept then that this whole thing of your so-called testimony is misleading the committee deliberately.
No, I disagree, as I have said so to
Advocate Shabalala. All right. Okay, let's again do this step by step. An innocent member of the committee, member X, right, who reads this statement at home to prepare for today, do you think they thought this is your statement, or this is a statement of someone else with which you associate yourself? Which of the two do you think? No, I'm saying that member of parliament. Do you think when they were reading this last night, they thought, I'm now reading the statement of Mr. Thejane? Or did they say, I'm reading the statement of some other author with which Mr. Thejane associates herself? Which one do you think it is?
My statement.
And but that member would have been wrong from what we've already covered, correct?
No, they will not be correct.
Yeah, that's the same thing. If they will not be correct, that means they will be wrong, correct?
No. Let me see if I understand you correctly. I am saying that they would not be correct to believe that it is not my statement.
Okay, ma'am, sorry, maybe it's my fault. I'm saying you and I have agreed that member X of the ABC party reading this statement would have thought that they were reading your statement, not the other statement by someone else with which you associate yourself. On that we've agreed, correct?
There's no other statement. There's one statement, the one that I signed.
Yes, but we now know that this statement is a statement with which you associate yourself, not one that you did yourself.
Well, it may be an incorrect use of associate. It's my statement. I signed it. I deposed to that affidavit.
Yes, but it's misleading, ma'am, because it gives the impression that you've read documents which you have not read. Are you at least prepared to accept that?
I have indicated as such that, yes, indeed, Charge 4 was drafted. I read it, and that is what I offered information on.
Oh, I see. Now you're changing your testimony. So you did read Charge 4?
I did even indicate with Advocate Chabalala, as it appears in my affidavit. That is what I am saying. So
what you've said now from the last 20 minutes, that you had never read Charge 4, that's a figment of my imagination.
No, not in terms of the motion. There are two things. There is Charge 4 as it appears in my affidavit. I've said I have read that. That is what I've said even earlier on.
Oh, I see. You've read the reference to Charge 4, but not Charge 4 itself.
That is correct.
Yes. But then what is the difference between you and me? I'm saying the person who would be reading this would think that you had read Charge 4 itself, and that would be incorrect, right?
That is correct. It's in the motion.
All right. Yeah. No, yeah. So that's the point I was making. I was not trying to be, I'm just saying that these were, you didn't like the expression words put in your mouth. So I was saying these were words that were conceived by somebody else, and you associated yourself by signing later, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. And I will show you that this is just a poor attempt to align your statement to the charge sheet. And that's what Advocate Chabalala was trying to explain. What do you understand by victimization?
Well, I understand victimization in the form of how a person gets treated, the manner that in this instance, how people were intimidated by the public protector. And intimidation, it's when, sorry.
I see. So to you, intimidation and victimization is the same thing?
No, necessarily not. If you are victimized and intimidated.
No, ma'am.
So,
I asked you about victimization. You are now talking about intimidation. I'm saying, therefore, you're saying victimization is if you are intimidated. So that means they are the same thing.
No, I'm saying intimidation is when somebody actually intimidates you in the manner, in the language that they are using towards you. Then they would be intimidating you, depending on what they say to you. Intimidating you. Intimidation can take various forms of for example, the audits that I received. Let me not speak about the audits that I received. I saw it as a form of intimidation. So the conduct of a person, which can be words or actions, can amount to intimidation.
Okay, I can't claim to understand what you're saying, but I've never even asked you about intimidation yet. I was asking you about victimization. Okay, that's your definition of intimidation. What is victimization?
Yes, you know, when you put fear on a person, you are victimizing that person. To compare a particular, sorry.
Okay, I thought when you put fear, that's intimidation. So again, let me ask you, is intimidation the same thing as victimization?
Excuse me, may you repeat that question, Advocate Mpofu?
I thought the idea, when you were describing about putting fear, I thought that's what you call intimidation. And I agree with that. Intimidation is when you put fear in someone. I was asking you, what's the difference between that and victimization, or what is victimization?
Yes, victimization is when you treat a person unfairly, unjustly. You know, you victimize that person.
I see. So unfair, it's like an unfair labor practice. You call that victimization?
Yes, yes, it is victimization within a work context. It can translate, or it can be unfair labor practice.
Okay, so an example, like if you come late and I say to you, you must stop coming late, and it turns out that maybe you did not come late, that's victimization to you.
No, the way that you place it, or you put it, it won't be victimization. But if I then start, sorry.
Yes, carry on.
Yes, I was saying, if you then start threatening the person, especially where a person would also give you an explanation. So one, it then forms part of you are intimidating me, you know, but also you may be victimizing a person, you know, when you then.
No, carry on, madam.
Yes, so when applying it in our context, what I am saying, if a person is not fairly treated, the example that we are giving, if a person comes to work late, it's a rule and they come late. If you caution a person, that is not victimization.
Okay, now we know what victimization is not. What is victimization?
When you victimize a person, using that same example, or in our context, is that if you want to achieve performance, and through that objective, you then start using the Audis. On one hand, you are actually threatening a person. On the other, then the tone, the language, the way that you speak to that person, you are then victimizing.
Okay, what you've just described, is it intimidation or victimization?
I've described intimidation, but I've also described intimidation. I've also described victimization.
What's the difference between the two?
Because if you start threatening a person, if you start using a threatening tone, or you put measures in place that are then threatening, then you are now intimidating a person.
And what's harassment?
Harassment on its own can also involve threats. Harassment can take different forms.
So these are synonyms: victimization, intimidation, and harassment, from what you've described, correct?
It can have elements of both. If you victimize a person, if you intimidate a person, there's a form of threat, the language that you are using towards that person.
All right. Okay, ma'am. Look, I'm going to argue. Let me take you out of your misery. I'm going to argue that you don't know the definitions of intimidation, harassment, and victimization, or the differences between them. And that confirms your earlier testimony that this statement, the foundations of the statement, is not yours, but that was written by somebody else.
I'll disagree, because if you intimidate me and use fear in that process, that for me is intimidation. And we may then differ.
Yeah. No. Okay. But yeah. And you yourself, you were never victimized, correct?
Well, there is those fearful language, the threats that have been used. So I have received those audios, so I have.
Okay, so these words that are used in these charges, intimidation, harassment, and victimization, you attribute them to the audio letters that you received, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And those audio letters you received from Ms. Sibanyoni, the CEO, correct?
Sibanyoni is CEO.
The CEO, that's the first person who victimized you, correct?
Well, it was not the first audio I received.
No, I know. I'm saying,
yes.
Okay. But, okay, she's one of the people who victimized you, correct?
Well, she was also acting on instructions.
Yes, but she's the person who victimized you, yes, ma'am?
Well, in the sense that it was issued by her.
Yes. And the second person who victimized you was Ms. Basani Baloyi, correct?
Correct.
The third person who victimized you was Mr. Muhalaba, correct?
No, he didn't.
Did you not send you an Audi?
No.
Who was the third person who sent you an Audi?
I had two Audis, one from Ms. Basani Baloyi and the other one from Ms. Sebanyu.
Okay, Mr. Muhalaba was just disciplined you.
No, he didn't discipline me.
Threatened to discipline you.
He said he was told to discipline me.
Yes, okay. So the only two people who victimized you then are Ms. Sibanyon and Ms. Baloyi.
In the context of them being instructed to do so.
Ms. Baloyi was instructed by who?
By the public protector.
Where do you get evidence for that?
It's because it happened. The first one, it happened at the meeting. The second one, again, what would happen at the meeting is that people would say, this and this has not been done. CEO, act on it. Okay,
so by saying act on it, she was instructing them to victimize you?
For the outdays.
No, ma'am. Listen to the question. By saying this has not been done, CEO or COO act on it, she was victimizing you.
Yes, that's what I'm saying within the context, because yes. I am saying it was unjustifiable.
Yes. Okay. So that's what we must understand by when you use those words in paragraph 4, intimidating, harassed, and victimized, is that the public protector once said to a COO, this has not been done, please act on it. That's
well, she did say, sorry, let me allow you to finish.
No, I'm finished.
If you may repeat, please.
When we decode the big words that you use, like victimization and intimidation, we must reduce it to what you have just said. You were victimized by Ms. Baloyi, and you're saying that that victimization was traceable to the public protector, because at a meeting she said to the COO, this has not been done, act on it. That's it.
Well, not act on it, but the out is that we must then explain why we have not then achieved the turnaround time.
Right. So that's the victimization, that you must explain why you have not met a particular deadline, for example. You call that victimization?
No, the victimization comes in that I would have given an explanation already to why those targets were not met, and it was not accepted, and still there would be an instruction that an Audi must be issued. Now, why I'm saying then it becomes victimization is that when there is a reasonable and logical explanation that is provided, and that explanation is still not accepted, and an Audi is issued in the sense of a punitive measure, in a sense of then threatening in what is said to then, because the explanation itself has not been accepted. That is why I then say it then becomes, a victimization, because you are now being threatened with an action that is going to be taken in a form of anticipation of a disciplinary process, because the response or the explanation that I would already have provided would not have been accepted.
Yeah. All right. And the Audi letters that were issued to you, once you gave the explanations, you were not subjected to disciplinary action, correct?
No, I was not.
Okay. Now, have you read the statement of Ms. Mokhaladi?
But there would be a reminder that an Audi was the environment, then the tone would be like that. Sorry, pardon me?
Ma'am?
There's something that you said, I was saying, if you may repeat.
Okay, now I was saying, have you read this statement of Ms. Mokhaladi?
No, I have not. You'll have to direct me.
Okay, no, that's fine. You've never read it?
No.
Okay. So, if you've never read it, okay, just a minute, ma'am. Go to page 4355. Paragraph 32, Tsepo. Read that. Madam.
Must I read it out loud? Out loud?
Yeah.
Ms. Mokhaladi, in her affidavit before this committee already referred to the fact that in these meetings, the PP was interested only in what product was expected and by when. The answers to these questions are typically informed by the information available to the EMs and CIs at the time.
That's fine, you can end that. Sorry, no, I just wanted the first sentence. You see that first sentence also gives a false impression that you have read Ms. Mokhaladi's affidavit, but that is false, correct?
Yes, I know what is contained therein.
No, madam, no, please, please. You are a legally trained person, you know the question. Don't evade the question and waste the time of the committee, please. When anyone reads this, they will assume you have read Ms. Mokhaladi's affidavit, correct?
I suppose so.
Is that a yes or a no?
Yes.
Yes. And that is false because you have not read Ms. Mokgaladi's affidavit, correct?
I have not read it, but I know what is contained in it because I spoke.
How do you know it? Are you a Sangoma?
No, I spoke to her.
Oh, you spoke to her and she said
Yes.
what? She recited her affidavit to you?
Not recited the affidavit, but I know what is contained therein. As far
Okay, what
as
is contained? Okay, now that you...
No, I'm
okay,
saying... Sorry.
Yeah, you know
I'm
what
saying,
is contained in her affidavit. What is contained in her affidavit?
I'm saying as far as that paragraph is concerned in terms of that the deadlines and what is contained in that paragraph.
No, Mr. Thejane, please, man. Why are you lying to the committee? Madam, have you read, you have not read the statement and Ms. Mokgaladi did not recite it to you, correct?
It's not recited to me, but I know
Yes.
what is there. Yes.
Okay, what is there?
That is why I'm saying as far as that paragraph is concerned, I know that is why I provided information or evidence relating to that.
Oh, man. So you only know one paragraph of Ms. Mokgaladi's statement, affidavit.
To the extent that it relates to my own evidence, I know it. I know the other things that she's is presented before the committee in terms of the hearing and what went through the hearing, but I've only responded to those or confirmed those issues that are relevant to me.
No, but it's not relevant to you. This is, you are saying Ms. Mokgaladi in her affidavit already referred to the fact that, and then you quote almost verbatim from that affidavit, which you've never read. So once again, this is not you speaking, it's the evidence leaders, correct?
Yes, this was included there by the evidence leaders, but I also know the issue of being interested in the product and when it is expected. So that is why I'm saying I was then responding to that.
Okay, maybe we don't understand each other. The evidence leaders or whoever wrote this was giving the impression to the members of parliament who will be reading the statement that you had read Ms. Mokgaladi's statement, correct?
Yes, but I didn't read Ms. Mokgaladi's statement.
No, I know that.
Yes.
I know that. Please, we'll just do it one by one. The evidence leaders or whoever wrote the statement was giving the impression that you have read Ms. Mokgaladi's affidavit, correct?
Necessarily not in terms of the actual reading, but that I can respond to that part of her affidavit.
Okay.
I cannot, in other words, I cannot then respond on behalf of the committee members.
No, ma'am. No. You said you've done 2 law degrees. I'm asking you a simple question. Do you really think that a member of parliament sitting at home reading this document, looking at paragraph 32, will be left with the impression that you have not read Ms. Mokgaladi's affidavit, or will they be left with the impression that you have read?
May I leave that to the committee members to make a decision?
Okay, forget the committee members. You, if you got this affidavit from me, written by me, and I say at paragraph 32, Ms. Mokgaladi in her affidavit before this committee already referred to the fact that in these meetings the PP was interested only in what product was expected and when. Would you be left with the impression that I have read Ms. Mokgaladi's affidavit?
Necessarily not. That is why I am saying I've been following the proceedings. I know that what Ms. Mokgaladi has said. So I can then also give my own views and experience as far as what is contained in her affidavit.
Yeah, ma'am, really, I don't know. I must just apologize to the committee for wasting their time with you, but we have to do what we have to do. So you are not, or rather, the only paragraph you know of Ms. Mokhaladi's statement is that one that you happen to know by osmosis or by some, I don't know, magic.
It will not be by osmosis, but by magic. I have indicated that I've been following all these proceedings. You will then have to guide me if there is any other reference to Ms. Mokhaladi in my affidavit that I would need to respond to. Otherwise, I would wish to be confined to my affidavit.
Yes, no, that's what I'm saying. According to your affidavit, I'm not, okay, let's forget the affidavit, ma'am. I'm saying the only point that you, that Ms. Mokhaladi, that you remembered was this paragraph, correct?
It's not the only point that I remembered.
What else do you remember from, what else do you remember from Ms.
Mokhaladi? I do not know if I'm now required to go through the affidavit of Ms. Mokhaladi. I've indicated that I have only drawn what is relevant to what I wanted to present to the committee, and that is contained in that paragraph.
All right, okay, no, that's fine. I think that's very clear to everyone. Okay, but you're just fudging the evidence, I think, as we go along. Do you agree? Okay, you were saying earlier when we were talking about intimidation and so on that the fear was, what is this fear that you guys are talking about? Is it the fear of Audi letters? Is that what it is?
Well, the Audis are the ultimate, but the fear starts from when we even go to those meetings, before we go to those meetings, that you provide an explanation on the reasons why you have not achieved a particular target or why certain matters are not finalized. So just the tone, the environment of the actual meeting, that is when the fear is actually instilled. The Audis are at the end. Sorry. The Audis are at the end. The fear itself is just the environment itself that is not conducive to a proper working environment.
Right. Okay. Sorry, ma'am. Yeah, we'll come back to the Audi thing. I was just looking for this, just to round off the previous point. And I'm sorry to belabor this, but it's important because it goes to what both Advocate Tshabalala and I have called the false foundations of your affidavit. You understand that theory, correct?
Well, as you have put it, which I disagreed that, but it's, we may continue.
What is it now that you disagree with? You don't agree that your affidavit is based on charge 4 and the things in 11.1.7 and some sections of Ms. Mokhaladi's affidavit, all of which you have never read?
I have explained myself.
So why are you saying we disagree? You want us to go back to that now again?
No, that is not my intention, but I have explained, including the reference to Ms. Mokgaladi's affidavit. I have explained it.
You know, ma'am, really, you're taking me back now. You have never read charge 4.
I've already responded to that. I can hear that you are speaking. Bear with me. Can you hear me now? Chairperson, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I think he is frozen.
I can hear you.
Thejane, do you
Mr.
still want to
Thejane.
testify?
Advocate Mpofu, we can't hear you.
Yeah? Can you hear me now?
I
Yes,
can
we
hear
can
you.
Can we hear you?
Yes, I can hear you now, ma'am.
ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I was saying I don't want to go back, but you're taking me back. You've never read charge 4, correct?
I've already responded to that.
Yeah, can you respond again, please, ma'am, just for my, maybe I'm slow. You have never read charge 4?
I've responded to Advocate Mpofu that in the motion, I did not read charge 4, but I read charge 4 as it contained in the affidavit.
Yeah, but doesn't, okay. That's, okay, before you read the affidavit, you had never read charge 4?
That is correct.
You had never read the things that are in 11.1 to 11.4?
That's indicated as such.
And you had never read Ms. Mokgaladi's affidavit?
Yes, I did not read it.
Yes. Now I'm saying those 3 pillars of your affidavit are not from you. That's the point I'm making. Go to paragraph 23, ma'am, of your affidavit. Read it out.
From paragraphs 107 to 112 of her affidavit made for this committee, Ms. Mokgaladi described dashboard meetings, how they were conducted initially and what they were about, and how dashboard meetings evolved in their content and focus. I do not seek to repeat Ms. Mokgaladi, what Ms. Mokgaladi has already stated in this regard, but I concur with the views that she expressed.
That's the 4th false foundation of your affidavit, correct?
No, we disagree to the extent that I say, I know I have followed the proceedings. So while I have not read Ms. Mokgaladi's affidavit in its entirety, but I know what is contained there, and that is why I was able to provide information based on my own experience and also having sat in the same meetings that Ms. Mokgaladi was in, that it was based on that.
Okay, but that's, you're now lying to that's an untruth, right?
I do not understand what you mean.
You know that you are under oath. You've sworn to God, and someone told you that if you give false information, it might be a basis of a criminal charge, correct?
I know.
You remember that?
Yes, I do. I know.
So, do you want to maybe reconsider giving false information?
I have not given false information.
Okay. So you want this committee to believe that you, without having read Ms. Mokgaladi's affidavit, you knew what is in paragraph 107 to 112. Is that what you want us to believe?
Yes, because it was communicated to me by the evidence leaders, and that is what I responded to. As far as your dashboard meetings were concerned, how they were, the dashboard meetings were held and what happened in those dashboard meetings, it was explained to me.
Ma'am, I'm not asking you about dashboard meetings. I'm asking you that you said from paragraphs 107 to 112 of her affidavit, but at that time you had never read Ms. Mokgaladi's affidavit. We've established that. You understand?
Yeah, but it was explained to me. What is,
No.
yes.
Madam, when you wrote this, when you signed on these words, you did not have a clue in the world what is in paragraph 107 of Ms. Mokgaladi's affidavit, correct? You still don't have a clue even now as you are sitting there, correct?
No, necessarily not, in that Ms. Mokgaladi concluded her affidavit and she also presented before the committee. So that is why I am saying that what is referred to there, I am able to then respond thereto as far as my experience is concerned.
All right. What is in 107, paragraph 107 to 112 of Ms. Mokgaladi's affidavit?
Well, I have to refer to it. I don't have it in front of me.
Yes, but forget about the fact that you don't have it. When you did this, you had never, you told this committee you have never read it.
I have not read the actual affidavit. I have said so.
Yes.
But I have yes.
So the answer then is that you don't know what is in paragraph 107 to 112, correct?
I do not know to the extent that I'm sorry. I've said that I've followed the proceedings. I've heard what Ms. Mokgaladi has said as far as what is contained in those paragraphs.
Ma'am, you don't want to answer my question? As you are sitting there, and as when you are signing this affidavit, you did not know, and now today, on the 9th of November 2022, you do not know what is in paragraph 107 to 112 of Ms. Mokgaladi's affidavit, correct?
I'm saying the difference is that I have not read it in the affidavit, but as she was presenting, yes, I do as far as those things are concerned.
I promise you I'm asking you for this for the last time. If you still want to evade it, it's your choice. Ms. Thejane, as you are sitting there today, you do not know what is in paragraphs 107 to 112 of Ms. Mokgaladi's affidavit, yes or no?
I have responded and I beg to differ with your conclusion.
So, okay, you differ with my conclusion, and my conclusion was that you do not know what is in those paragraphs. Therefore, it means you know what is in those paragraphs.
That is why I have said I have followed the proceedings, including when Ms. Mokgaladi.
Okay, if you know what is in those paragraphs, then can you share that with the committee? What is in paragraphs 107 to 112 of Ms. Mokgaladi's statement?
As I have indicated, that since I've been following in terms of the proceedings, the issue of a dashboard, as she has indicated, and I have responded thereto, I know about that. But to then recall the whole of from 107 to 112, I will not be able to do so right now without it being projected.
Yeah, but you're misleading the committee again. How can you recall something you have never seen?
No, I am saying I responded to the extent that to the extent that I have experienced those incidents in her affidavit.
Mr. Thejane, you are a very, I don't know, it's all right. So can I just summarize it by saying then that fourth pillar of your statement is also false?
I've disagreed.
Pardon?
I'm listening. I heard you.
No, I was saying that we had gone through the 3 areas. I was saying this was now the 4th pillar. Obviously, a building with 3 pillars gone was already going to collapse. But just in case, you never know, miracles happen. I was trying to give you this 4th, the last pillar. So that's also crumbling, correct? You have never read those paragraphs.
I disagree with you. I have responded.
Yeah, no, that's the truth. You have responded, but you have responded falsely. That's not what I want to know. What I want to know from you is that you have not read the affidavits. If you are not even honest enough to admit that, which you admitted a few questions ago, then where are we, Ms. Thejane? Do we really have to go through this? Do you need to subject South Africans to this?
And I have indicated that I have responded to those things, dealing with dashboard meetings, dealing with issues of backlog. I have responded to that as contained even in my affidavit. I may not quote it verbatim as it is in Ms. Mokgaladi's affidavit, but I have indicated in my affidavit.
Are you fine? Are you okay?
I am very well, actually.
I'm glad to hear that. All right. Now, you said that you agree that poor performance was a contributor to the backlogs, don't you?
Where did I say that?
No, I'm asking you now. Do you agree that poor performance was a contributor to the backlogs?
Necessarily not.
I don't understand those things, please. I don't know what necessarily not means. Just was poor performance a contributor to the backlogs or not?
I have indicated, I would say no. That's why I'm saying necessarily not, because there are factors that contributed to the backlog. Therefore, to say it's just poor performance, I do not agree.
Okay, maybe it's me or you don't listen. When you say something is a contributor, do you mean it's the only thing in your language?
No.
So why are you now changing what I've said to you? I said to you, do you agree that poor performance is a contributor to the backlogs? I didn't say it's the only thing. Do you agree or do you not agree?
I do not agree.
It's not a contributor.
It's a contributor where there may be poor performance.
So what is it that you don't agree with? I've just said exactly what you've said. I said poor performance is a contributor to the backlog as a general statement, not the sole cause. I accept that, but it's one of the contributors, correct?
Correct.
So what is it that you're disagreeing with?
No, I was saying it can contribute to the backlog.
And other factors would be training, correct?
May I understand if you say training as a contributor to the backlog?
Okay, can lack of training also be a contributor to the backlogs?
In what sense, so that I know that I understand you?
Pardon?
In what sense, so that I can understand what you are saying? What do you mean?
Okay, if you get poor quality reports because people are not trained, I thought your evidence earlier was that then you have to send them back, correct?
Yes.
Okay, then let's say that takes a month, you send it back, takes another 2 months, then it comes back and the quality is still not good, you send it back, takes another 2 months. Will that not contribute to not meeting the deadline?
It would contribute, but unless the deadline itself remains the same, then it will contribute to the backlog. In light of what you have also indicated, that there are certain intervening measures that must be taken, including training. But if the deadline itself remains the same, then it will contribute to backlog.
Okay, so poor performance, training, those are the things that can or do contribute to backlogs. Also, vacancies contribute to slowing down the delivery, correct?
Correct.
The fourth one would be transfers of people to other provinces, correct?
Correct.
The fifth one would be financial constraints, correct? Okay. Now, you know that financial constraints could make sure that cases would remain active and not completed, correct?
Correct.
So you wouldn't agree with a statement that says that financial constraints do not contribute to or are not one of the causes for investigations not being conducted or completed?
I agreed with it, that financial constraints can contribute.
Yes, which means you won't agree with the opposite, that they cannot contribute, correct?
No, I've said financial constraints can contribute.
Do contribute, yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
And therefore, I'm saying, therefore, a statement that says financial constraints should not contribute to such backlogs would be incorrect.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. And then the next issue, for what it's worth, as I said, I mean, I'm just doing this for the benefit of the members, but quite frankly, I could be speaking to myself. I'm saying that you also agree that and this is quite probably the most serious thing I'm going to ask you to assist the committee with. You accept that there are certain prices to be paid for achieving delivery.
Yes, if you may just explain to me, when you say prices, what do you mean?
Yeah, okay. Do you accept that, just as a general statement, in South Africa we have a crisis of poor service delivery? Agree?
Yes.
It's actually at pandemic levels, the non-delivery at various levels. You are a South African, I don't have to take you to those examples. You'd agree with that as a general statement, correct?
Yes, as a general statement, yes.
Yes. Now, I'm saying here we have a public protector who has, unlike all the people who are trying to judge her, done something and actually improved service delivery. Would you agree with that? That she has improved service delivery?
And you are talking service delivery in what context, so that I know what I'm responding to?
No, in the context of the public protector. Okay, in the context of the public protector's office. Have you and when I say you, I mean the public protector and yourself and others, delivered the services better under her leadership.
Yes, so what I'm trying to get clarity on, you are talking us as in executing our duties as the Public Protector's Office, or are you talking service delivery in general outside by state organs, so that I know what I am responding to?
Okay, no, yes. I understand, ma'am. Sorry. No, the first statement, yes, was just a general South African statement. We've agreed on that. Put that aside now. I'm now coming to the Public Protector's Office. I'm saying that you'll agree that the Public Protector has achieved, okay, let me maybe simplify it. She has achieved, for example, bringing in strong women leadership into the organization, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, that's one. She has massively reduced the backlog, correct?
That is correct.
Achieved 3 clean audits, correct? It's number 3.
Correct.
In 3 successive years, unprecedented, correct?
Correct.
She has delivered services to the public faster and in bigger quantities, correct?
Yes, you mean in terms of the matters that we have dealt with?
Yes.
Correct.
And the office has even achieved international recognition. The Public Protector serves in some international ombuds bodies. South Africa's Public Protector's Office profile is quite high internationally, correct?
Yeah, which can also be attributed to the other public protectors. So I don't disagree with what she has achieved as the current incumbent, but also the other public protectors. I think the office has really maintained that reputation internationally.
Okay, maybe since I didn't want to do a comparison, but since you are dragging us there, let's do it. Has any other public protector before reduced the backlog to the levels that she has?
Well, it would depend on what we look at per public protector and what the status is. I must indicate that the
okay, let me put it this way. Okay, the evidence of Mr. van der Merwe, who has been there since a long time ago, is that and it's backed up by statistics, that this is almost a superlative performance in terms of reducing the backlog. It has never been to these levels. Would you quarrel with that? Is that not your experience?
No, I don't disagree. I agree.
Yes. Okay, so let's then say that she has performed better than all the other public protectors in the area of backlog reduction, correct?
Correct.
Did any other public protector achieve a clean audit or 2 or 3 clean audits in succession?
No.
So in the area of governance and clean audits, she has also performed better than any other public protector in history, correct?
Correct.
Right. So that's the point I'm making. Now, the issue I was saying to you is that I've just chosen randomly 5 areas where the public protector has exceeded expectations and performed so well. Now I'm saying you would accept, as a person who has worked in management, that those achievements must come at some personal cost to somebody. The Americans say no pain, no gain. Nothing for mahala. All those expressions mean that when you get those things, there must be some payback, some sacrifice or price, correct? Yeah. Now, this seems to be at the center of this so-called impeachment inquiry. Because it is now, you are probably, I don't know, the 15th person who has been brought here to criticize the public protector. And it seems to be something like this. We are happy to get the service delivery. We are happy to get the clean audit. We are happy to get the backlog reduction and faster delivery to the masses of our people. But it must not come at nobody must do anything extra. That must just fall from heaven. Is that really what this is all about?
No, I wouldn't agree to that, especially to the extent that I have responded and presented that information. I wouldn't agree. In fact, I do share those sentiments that when you are given a particular task, you do everything possible to achieve the task. That is why I personally have spent long hours to try and achieve the task, new as I was. So that doesn't take away any objective or intention from the public protector, because yes, the public protector works through us to then do everything that is possible. However, when you work in an environment where you present even what you have achieved, and then it is actually said, but you are celebrating the numbers. And on the other hand, those are the very same numbers that are reported by the public protector that she is also saying as the public protector, judge me by my performance. And those are the numbers that we have actually given in terms of the work, in terms of the output that we have given the country, not just the public protector, because we are mandated by the Constitution. But when I talk about this environment where you say, yes, we have finalized so many, and then we are saying, but you are giving me the numbers. But it's the very same numbers that PP is saying, judge me by performance. Secondly, yes, indeed, there is that performance. But when one is now saying, yes, we have a backlog, let us deal with the backlog. Let us also look at those factors that have created the backlog, as you have all pointed or listed them as factors that affect the turnaround time of matters that eventually fall into the backlog. You have mentioned staff transfer, you have mentioned vacancies, you have mentioned issues of budgetary constraints. It's also those issues that we also would put before the public protector, that the person has been transferred. Sometimes they are transferred with their cases, sometimes they are not transferred with their cases. Some people would leave the organization. We have to redistribute those matters. However, if that is seen as an excuse when we present it, and the deadlines on those matters are then not adjusted in line with those challenges, the deadlines are not adjusted in line with the poor quality that one would have picked up in some of the areas. That is what advocating for I am talking about. But I am not taking away of, yes, somebody then must work towards achieving those targets and also the service delivery as you put it. I agree with that.
Yes. Okay, but you accept, I'll let you give that long answer, because I really, this thing troubles me. It makes me not to sleep at night. That we're here actually wasting the time and the money to want to punish somebody for these achievements that I've listed to you, simply because in the process of those achievements, some people might not have been happy, or they might have slept late or woken up early in the morning or whatever. And the point I'm making to you, and it's a very serious point, madam, is that you and I at least accept that to achieve these things, 3 clean audits in a row, never been done since 1994. that cannot just happen, fall from the sky. It takes some blood and sweat and sacrifice and lack of sleep and all sorts of things like that from people like you. You accept that the one cannot happen without the other, correct?
Correct.
Yes. So if then we cannot get these achievements for our people, clean audit, cutting in backlogs, faster delivery to the masses of our people, if we cannot get that without these sacrifices, which one must we forgo? Must we stop the sacrifices so that we do not get the delivery, or impeach those who give us the delivery simply because there's some cost? Or should we just live in a cesspool of non-service delivery as a country and degenerate into sewage that's running in our streets as it is now?
Yes, I cannot speak to the impeachment or not because that is not my decision. However, what I can respond to is that it doesn't help to then push and make those sacrifices, including sleeping late, if the final product, as the courts have also determined, is then causing the very same disservice to the communities that you want to serve. In other words, the changes that you want to bring in that public administration. So it doesn't help then to threaten. It doesn't help to victimize. That is why I was saying, Advocate Pofu, I am interpreting it within that context, that if you push and you say, I want this within this particular time, you don't consider all those factors that you have listed, and you produce a product, you produce a report that then goes to court, and that report is set aside on review. Firstly, you've given hope to that member of the community who has entrusted that hope to the Office of the Public Protector. You issue a report that would have far-reaching consequences in public administration for an individual, also for the country, depending on each and every investigation and that report. But if that report is then set aside, and we know that had we placed more emphasis on quality, on proper investigation and quality, had we been listened to when we said this matter is not ripe, is not ready for conclusion, for finalization and signing off, and those factors are considered as opposed to being seen as excuses, as issues of mere poor performance. Because I do agree, there can be issues of poor performance, but if they're seen as issues of solely poor performance, and then an Audi is issued as opposed to dealing with those reasons, then we are still not serving then the public, because those reports then get set aside. Okay.
So you're talking about like 14 reports that were set aside. So what about the other 50,000 matters? Must they suffer so that we can save 2 or 3 reports?
No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't.
Yes. So what you're telling us is a false comparison, because even if you were not asked to perform well, the reports were still going to be challenged in court. I can assure you that much as a lawyer. If somebody came to me, even if you take 100 years to do the report, if someone is going to review it, they'll review it. Do you accept that?
Yes, I agree. It's the right that they have.
So then that's why I'm saying, ma'am, and I really want you to help us on this. Put aside the thing of the review. That's a non-issue, because that will always happen. I'm saying, should we then sacrifice all these other benefits, clean audit, good governance, faster return on the other 50,000 reports, massive cutting down on backlogs, and let people do as they wish, just so that the reports are not reviewed? Is that what South Africa must become?
No, I don't agree that people must do as they wish. But I do say, while we may look at the few reports that have been taken on review and set aside, however, in terms of the quality assurance of our work, that still remains critical. If one also looks at those reports that have been implemented, the changes that have been made versus those ones that have not been implemented.
Okay, all right. Yes. Maybe let me put it like this. Let me agree with you just for argument's sake. Let me say that maybe this massive output, one of the, what I call the price, is quality. Let me grant you that. Let's say quality will then suffer. But do you agree that that is a balance that we must live with? If quality must suffer so that we deliver faster and better services to our people, rather than delivering nothing and have, let's say, one report in 10 years, but it is of great quality, that we should choose the balance that says, maybe you're not going to have Rolls-Royce reports, but you will have Toyota reports, but they will be sufficient to run on the road, if you get my example. Do you agree that that's a kind of balance that we should strive for?
I wouldn't agree, because then it would also say, as a member of this office and at my level, I can take work that is of poor quality or is also substandard, just so that we can produce reports. And
then you're not listening to me. I didn't say anything about substandard. I said
yes.
From a Rolls-Royce to a Toyota, not substandard. I'm saying,
yes.
Do you agree that part of the sacrifice that we must make as a country now, let's say ESCOM or any of these areas where there's the crisis, would be that, okay, maybe you could have the best electricity distribution or the best report from the Public Protector's Office. But rather than having load shedding every 2 hours, maybe we should have, if the price to pay is to have a lower quality, but better service. Those might be the only choices we have, rather than the Rolls-Royce or nothing. Do you understand how complex service delivery can be, that you have to make certain sacrifices?
I hear your analogy, but I wouldn't agree with it in our context.
Right.
We want to strive to produce quality reports that would make an impact, including those service delivery issues that you are referring to. So one does not want to reach a compromise. It would be wrong to then say it is okay as long as we can compromise. I would disagree. I would strongly disagree.
Disagree with that. So you don't think it's a compromise or a balancing exercise? As a leader, you don't think it's about balance and compromise? It's either we'll get the most perfect reports in the world or we'll get nothing. There's no balancing act.
It's not even about the report. Remember, in every complaint that we investigate, it's about the change that we need to influence in our public administration in the country.
Right.
So for me to then say, let us reach a balance, that's where I really don't agree with that kind of approach.
Yeah, no,
because the report must be perfect for us then to influence the change.
All right. No, I think I know where the problem is now. Yeah, thank you. All right. So then if to the extent that you accept that there must be sacrifices made to get these outcomes, clean audits and all these things, who must make those sacrifices?
Well, all of us in this office. To the extent that we play each role, how we play each role as per our position.
Okay, let me ask it differently. You and I agreed about 5 contributing factors. I won't go through them again. Remember?
Yes.
Of those, do you accept that the public protector has no control over the budget?
Yes.
She has no control over most of those factors, but the one that she has control over as a contributing factor is poor performance. She can improve on that one. That's what we pay her for to do, correct?
Correct.
And therefore, she cannot, that saying about God make me accept the things I cannot change. She cannot change all those things, but the one area that she can change, she must make sure that there's improvement in that one area. She can't change the other 4, but the one that is in her province is performance. Agreed?
Yes, but the other ones that we had also included, it's issues of transfer, it's issues of people who leave the office and therefore having to fill those positions. So those ones can be controlled, because when those factors come into play, it then says you need to revisit certain areas, including this issue of backlog. That is why I was saying, then you must say what has now also contributed to the backlog. It's work that is redistributed to other investigators.
Okay, I don't want to waste more time on this. I'm saying, let me call it the HR or internal issues. She can control those, but not the other factors that are outside of her control, correct?
Can we agree on the factors that are outside of control? So that is why I have listed, because I want to agree with the issue of poor performance, but I've indicated the other factors that are also within the area of her control, because they're internal.
But I'm helping you with that. That's what I mean. So you're just repeating what I've said. You can just say yes. Okay.
Yes, it's just that I had poor performance. So as one factor,
I never said poor. I didn't say poor performance. Poor performance was 4 questions ago. I said to you the internal issues, the HR and the internal issues at PP office.
Yes.
That's where she can make a difference, not the externally controlled factors.
Agreed.
And we must accept, therefore, that to the extent that the office has improved massively in certain areas, it is because she has improved on those areas that she can control, irrespective of the fact that nothing has changed on budget, nothing has changed on staff, and she can't control people resigning or whatever. But that those improvements must therefore compensate for those areas where she has no control. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. We can pause there. Advocate Mpofu will
just round off when we come back here.
We'll take a break up until 1:45 and then run through the last stretch. Thank you.
Recording stopped. The recording has stopped.
Welcome back, Mr. Thejane and Advocate Mpofu. We're now getting into our last stretch. We're going to ask you to continue and conclude your cross-examination so that you can proceed to allowing you placing matters on record between now until the adjournment of the meeting. Thank you. I hand over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good afternoon, Mr. Thejane. You back? I can't hear you. You are muted.
Sorry. Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now, yeah. All right. Okay, just we're going to cover 2 or 3 issues, but I just want to round off the previous point, which I said really symbolizes the kind of evidence that you and the other employees have given, which I find quite disturbing. So we agree that really all of you, well, I don't want you to speak for other people, yourself. You said you've come here to tell the committee that the public protector intimidated, harassed, and victimized you or other people, correct?
That's correct.
And we know that I don't want us to go back to that confusion about describing those terms here. So I'm just trying to unpack them now. So effectively, we agree that the public protector never came to that office and beat people up or got there and she was drunk or all sorts of things like that. All these problems that you have with her is because she was driving performance, correct?
It's how she was driving that performance.
Yes, no, I accept that. It's how she was driving performance, but all the problems that you and the others have are about driving performance, the manner of driving performance. It's not like she went there and she was stabbing people or doing things like that, correct?
Well, PP can be a very soft-spoken person. It's what she says. It's what she says and how she says it and her actions. That can be an equivalent. Well, let me not compare it to driving around and the way that you have placed it. But within a work environment, it's how things are done.
I don't think you understand my question. All these bad things, whatever they are, that she did were aimed at improving performance, correct?
Yes, that was her aim.
Yeah.
But that's not how you
yes. I'm not underestimating or undermining the fact that you are saying is the how, but all I'm saying is that all the problems that you have with her are related to her, the manner in which she was driving performance, service delivery, and all these performance indicators, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Now, and you say that one of the issues is that, okay, Advocate Shabalala asked you about yourself now. You were phoning people in the wee hours of the morning, correct?
Not in the wee hours of the morning, but late at night, yes. Very late at night.
Pardon?
Yes, I was calling people.
Yeah, in ungodly hours, correct?
That is correct.
Yes. Now, so that was victimization in your language, correct?
No, I wasn't victimizing people.
Oh. So when it's you who, I thought you were saying victimization entails this idea of interfering with people's private lives.
Yes, I did say, you see, we are the ones who have to deliver the work. So PP was not calling people in godly hours. I was explaining or describing the work environment itself, that because of these tight deadlines that are often prescribed, then you have to get things done. Yes, it included calling people in during those odd hours. In other words, for me, who is based here in head office, and also my position, and who sits in these meetings, then it then translates in that way that you affect each and everyone. That is why I was saying, while yes, the objective was to drive performance, but how you then drive performance, because the more harsh you are, the more threatening you are, people are going to then deliver that product by the time that you said product by when. But what is the quality of that product? Then it affects everyone along the chain.
Okay. No, we've gone through the quality. I don't know whether you didn't hear the question or you're dodging it. I'm saying you, Mr. Thejane, when you phoned people in the wee hours of the morning, would you count from their perspective that you were harassing and victimizing them, correct? Because they were sleeping at home and
yes, indeed, they could see it that way. Yes, they could.
Yes. So
it could be justified. Yes.
But no, fair enough. So, but when you were victimizing and harassing those people, it was because you were feeling pressure to deliver, correct?
That's correct.
It was not because you are a bad person yourself. You were calling them in those odd hours of the morning because you wanted them to deliver so that you can deliver, correct?
That is correct.
Yes. So the same applies to the PP. Do you know that she also has pressure to deliver? Just as you have pressure maybe from her, and the people you are waking up in the morning had pressure from you, and they probably phoned other people as well and woke them up in the odd hours of the morning. But the public protector also had pressure to deliver, and she did deliver, as we know. You accept that?
Yes, I accept.
Good. Good.
But also I want to say, yes, everybody is under pressure, but when one has explained why a particular milestone has not been achieved, and then it is not accepted at that level, and the deadline does not change, that is what then leads to this ripple effect of putting pressure on each and everyone. So yes, I agree, everybody, including the PP, is under pressure. But when one then says to the PP,
thank you. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I'm saying therefore, so if you are saying victimization, so PP, insofar as she was also acting under pressure, she was a victim herself, correct?
No,
that's like the people you were phoning. The people you were phoning were your victims.
No, accept that.
You don't agree that the people you phoned at 3 in the morning, okay, sorry, I don't know what the time is. The people you phoned at the odd hours were at face value victims of your phone call, correct?
No, I've agreed to that, but I don't agree that PP is the victim.
Oh, I see. So the only victims were the people you phoned and the people they phoned and you, and that's where it stops.
You know why I say that I do not consider PP as the victim? It's because we are in control of that. We are in control with the main focus on producing quality. If there's an explanation that is provided and that deadline does not change, you end up putting pressure on each and every other person to then produce work that may not be of good quality.
All right. Since you say you followed Ms. Mokgaladi's evidence, you accept that what you are saying is false. That's not what happened. Actually, on many occasions, people had to determine their own deadlines.
No, I disagree with that. And
but do you accept, since you followed Ms. Mokgaladi's evidence, do you accept that she considered on that point? That, and I think Ms. Busisiwe as well, that deadlines, I think in the case of Ms. Musiti, we saw some deadlines that were moved like 25 times, yeah. But that deadlines did get moved. So it's not true what you are saying that the deadlines were immutable, because we have live examples of Ms. Mokhaladi, for example, when she got her Audi letter, she had determined her own deadline and did not meet it.
I hope you can hear me, because you are now frozen on my side. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you, yes.
Yes, the screen is frozen. I will continue until you stop me.
No problem.
Yes. No, I don't. I think it will have to be contextualized in specifically so, because the deadlines for backlog matters. One would sit in meetings and then those deadlines would propose that this is the deadline based on the work that still needs to be done. And that is why people would say, no, but that is too far. And that is why I've said, even though I had agreed, but it was at the insistence, because ultimately one would say, yes, I've agreed to this deadline, but that is not necessarily the deadline that I would have set based on the investigation and the work that still needed to be done.
Okay, let me round it off like this, because I don't want to tit for tat with you. You refute that people like Ms. Mokhaladi, who agreed here, and you said you followed her evidence, considered that some of the deadlines that she failed to meet were set by her, not anyone else, by her, Ms. Mokhaladi.
No, I'm not refuting that. I was just explaining, yes.
No, all right. And Mr. Tebele, who also gave evidence here, you know him?
Yes, I know him.
Yes, he also testified that people at times would give their own deadlines and fail to meet them. So let's leave the issue of the ones that were not changed. What about the ones where the people set the deadlines themselves and still not meet them? Do you still think that's fine?
No, I don't think that's fine if they've set their deadlines.
Yes. So therefore, in the instances, like in the case of Ms. Mokhaladi, where she had missed, I think, 4 or 5 deadlines until came the point where she set her own deadline and she still missed it, you would accept that there must be consequences?
Depending, obviously, on the reasons for still not meeting the deadlines that she has set herself, then I would agree there should be consequences.
So then we must know, if we do that, then it means we'll go back to the dark days before Advocate Mkhwebane, where matters would last for 5 years, correct? Because then it will be, well, depending. I'm sure even Ms. Mdntv and the others wanted the backlog to be slashed, but people were giving this depending for 5 years. So at what point then should we say that this matter must be delivered? You cannot be giving us these excuses for 5 years.
Yes, you have correctly used the word excuses, because that is what it was seen as, excuses, instead of listening objectively and view it objectively why it has not been achieved. I fully agree with you. Where those reasons are not legitimate, then yes, there must be consequence management. I agree with you.
Oh, thank you. No, then we've made some progress.
Where those are justifiable, then the consequence management is not the right approach. That is what I am saying.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Good. And we're not here debating matters of style. You accept that different managers or different leaders will have different styles, correct?
I accept, and that is critical to the success also of an institution.
Yes. Okay, and the PP's style is to be rigid on deadlines. I think that one we all know. But that's how she has achieved what she has achieved, correct?
Rigid, but at what cost?
Yes.
Because like you said...
Now we are going back to my theory. I said there always will be a cost, ma'am. Remember, that's where we started. You said you don't understand what I meant by cost or price. I'm saying that's the point I'm making. So at that cost, I'm saying she, with all the costs included, has achieved what she has achieved by being rigid and sticking to the deadlines where
yes.
You accept that. Okay.
Yes, and rigid in this, if you may allow me, rigid in this context, I am implying it to the change, the service delivery that you were talking about, that it starts here because this we can control and say we are doing it correctly, close to perfect, if not perfect, to change that service delivery you were talking about.
Yeah. All right. Well, but you can only work with what you have. If you have so many employees and so much money, those are the constraints. That's what I tried to explain that to you, but I don't think it's fine. Let's leave that here. Okay. When it comes to the deadlines, you accept that you've already accepted to Advocate Chabalala that the deadlines were not necessarily the PP's deadlines. Some of them were deadlines that taken ownership for yourself, correct?
Yes, correct.
And sorry, ma'am. And you also accepted that some of those deadlines were even imposed by Parliament, correct?
Correct.
Yes. And so those deadlines cannot be attributed to the public protector. And you've said that the 30-day deadline imposed by Parliament on EMEA matters is unrealistic, right?
Yes, that is my view based on the time it has taken us to conduct.
Yes, I know. Yeah, you explained that to Advocate Chabalala. Okay, yes. So what would you say is realistic? What should Parliament consider with for EMEA? 2 months, 3 months?
I don't know if it's really for this this sitting, but on average, we have found that an average of conducting your EMEA matters ranges between 7 months, 7 months and more. So 7 months EMEA with a dedicated team doing that investigation or conducting that investigation, because we are still using the very same resource.
And this matter, that matter has been communicated many times to Parliament, correct? The issue of the 30 days, even by Advocate Mdntv, I think. Correct?
Yes, correct.
And for the past 10 years or so, Parliament has not shifted that deadline, correct?
Well, it has not changed, yes.
So they've been rigid with that deadline themselves, correct?
Well, I would say rigid in the sense that the act has not changed, but there has been flexibility in that when reports, when the first report or letter is sent, notifying the speaker that we are not able to finalize that investigation within 30 days, or even the president, where it has to be escalated to the president, we have been given that indulgence to continue with the investigation and complete it and provide that report. And it is the same thing that we've also been asking in this instance, that as we would also explain to Parliament that we are not able to meet this deadline because of 1, 2, 3, the same would also request of the public protector that indeed there is a rigid time frame.
Thank you. And the evidence of the public protector will be that that's exactly what she has done as well. There's one example, which you may or may not know about it, of the Friday report, which was promised to her, I think, in November 2017, but was eventually produced in 2018. exactly because of what you're saying, that even though there was a deadline, but if it could not be met, it could not be met for valid reasons. That happened. That's what the public protector will say. Are you saying that never happened? She'll be lying.
No, I would not say that. I do not know what happened on the Friday.
All right. And you agree that to get these outcomes, you have to crack the whip now and again, correct?
Of course, yes, I agree.
And you have actually said, I think at page 4368, Chairperson.
What page?
4368.
Okay.
You said, I do not take issue with management cracking the whip where performance has been substandard. In some cases, it appears shocking what has been done to investigate certain complaints that have been received or the length of time it has taken to get certain complaints. Do you still agree with that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And then at paragraph 40, I think 47. Which is 4360. You say that you share the concern of the executive authority, that's the public protector, and other EMs that the eradication of backlogs and preventing and the accumulation of further backlogs must remain priority for an office such as PPSA. Agree with that?
Yes, I do.
And you say in order to deal with the backlog and move investigations along from time to time, various mechanisms have been embarked upon since my time at PPSA in 2019. And those various mechanisms are the one that you and I have discussed of deadlines, pressure, working long hours, correct?
No, mechanisms this way.
To cut the backlog. It's what we've already discussed, some of the, what we call the cost or the price of getting that done, correct?
No, what I meant here, because mechanisms, if you are referring to the budgetary constraints, I'm talking about measures that have been put in place to try and deal with the backlog. That's what I mean here.
All right. And then one of the things that one of the good things the PP did was to get COO to drive some of these issues, correct?
That's correct.
And you have been happy, for example, with the fact that the COO managed to contribute to the slashing of the backlog as well, correct?
Correct.
And but that intervention itself was done by the PP in a way, because she's the one who identified that gap and delegated those tasks, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you still haven't had a chance to read the motion of Ms. Mazzoni that you came here to support, correct?
Correct.
All right. And sorry, just to round it off, you've testified as well that one of the innovations that was created was this thing called full bench, correct?
Yes.
But even that full bench, then there's another one called what? Leadership. Okay, even that full bench could not function optimally because people were not performing or meeting the deadlines, or they were submitting late, correct?
Yes, it's correct in that since there would be a deadline for submission, there would be a time set for full bench. Some of those matters would not be ready to serve at full bench for reasons that I've already articulated, that they would go back. So yes, so then full bench would not have, members of full bench would not have read in advance, which is the intention of full bench, to read, do some form of quality assurance so that then full bench can be there can be full participation in at full bench. So that was the challenge.
The problem, yes. So again, even with full bench, in order to get it to work for its intended purposes, there would have been a need to crack the whip, correct?
Again, it comes down to this issue of tight deadlines and versus what needs to be done. Because if the calendar for full bench is already set and it cannot be shifted on all those matters that are supposed to be presented at full bench, then there will be pressure to finalize and submit at full bench, but quality will still be compromised. So again, the cracking of the whip, yes, the whip can be cracked, but it's the reason why that matter cannot serve at full bench that I want to emphasize. They should not be undermined.
Yes, no, on that we agree, Mr. Thejane. So obviously there's a limit beyond which one cannot go even in pushing performance, correct? There are human factors.
Correct. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. I mean, for example, you were here on the 13th of September when the chairperson insisted that we continue with the hearing when the public protector was sick. You would say that that's now, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't crack the whip beyond the human, the level of humanness, correct?
Well, it may be unreasonable for me to be expected to respond in that context.
No, I'm just making an example. I'm saying, okay, forget about the chairperson. If you had a deadline and you wanted to achieve something, and the person said, look, here's a medical certificate, I can't do it. These are the kinds of things you're talking about, of that if you still...
Sorry, I've lost sound.
And,
sorry, I lost sound for a few seconds.
Yeah, yes. You'll have to repeat, Advocate Mpofu, because you know that's what happened in the system when you mentioned the chairperson. You quickly freeze. Please repeat when you include him in the examples. He is frozen.
Frozen again.
Now. That's just a lesson. We'll wait for him until he's back. You can take some water, Mr. Thejane, in the meantime.
Recording stopped.
It's called water Audi.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Ms. Thejane, okay, it's not true what I said. I'm going to talk about the chess conduct. When we got frozen, I was saying to you, just as an example, the kinds of things that you are saying, you agree there must be cracking of the whip, that there must be performance, and there must be, pressure put. But you are saying that it must not go beyond certain levels of humanity, correct? Or humanness.
Yes, I say there must be fairness. There must be
there must be a limit, yes. That's the central thesis of what you're saying, not that you are against cracking of the whip per se, correct?
Yes, yes, correct.
Yes, and then that's why I was using that example, saying you yourself now, you wouldn't, for example, insist, if you said to somebody, look, you are going to be here, you're going to give evidence on the 13th of September or whatever date, and that person happens to be on their deathbed, you wouldn't insist on that happening, or to give you a report, or and so on. Or these people you were phoning at the odd hours, if they said, look, I'm in hospital, I'm lying in hospital, you wouldn't harass them further than that, correct?
Indeed, that's what I did not do that.
That's the kind of disgraceful conduct you wouldn't do. Yeah, okay. And you wouldn't...
Advocate Mpofu, I hope it's not still within the context of before we parted, especially when we use disgraceful.
Yes, within the context of meeting deadlines, yeah.
Yes, because I didn't, yeah. Yes, the word disgraceful, it's not what I would use, but what I wanted to say,
all right. Okay, so fine. So if you, let's say it was you now, let's say it was you sitting on the deathbed, and if I phoned you and I said, no, I want my thing, I want my report, you wouldn't think that would be disgraceful? You think that would be admirable?
Yeah, maybe disgraceful is a stronger word. However,
maybe let's leave disgraceful. You would think that that would be a horrible thing to do, to phone you on your deathbed at ICU and say that you must give me a report. Wouldn't you?
Yes, I would think that.
That's fine. I can live with horrible.
May I respond? May I respond? I just wanted to. Yes, I wanted to respond.
Yes, you may, ma'am.
Yes, I think there may be a time delay. What I wanted to say, yes, I would think it's unreasonable, and that is why one would go back to the. You can hear me.
I can.
Can you hear me? Oh,
can hear you.
I don't know. Is it clear, Chairperson, on your side? Because Advocate Mpofu says I'm faint.
Okay,
can hear you. Proceed.
I think, maybe it's on our side, yeah, because the Chairperson says he can hear you.
Yes, I was saying, Advocate Mpofu, yes, I would consider it as unreasonable, and that is why one would go back to the PP to explain. There are people who would not even answer at those times. So, and one would wanted to actually limit interfering with their own private time. But it's what then happens as we give feedback of what could not be achieved and the reasons, including those people who are ill. But if it's then followed with an Audi or it's not accepted as a reasonable explanation because deadlines were set, then that is where the challenge is.
Yeah, no, you've said all that. Yes. I'm not talking about Audi. I'm talking about demanding performance from somebody in the ICU. It's not Audi. Yeah, but it's fine if you don't understand it. You don't. Yeah. Okay.
No, I do understand. That is why I would.
Okay, no, because I don't know how we got to Audi. Yeah, I'm just saying that you agree or you disagree that to demand from somebody who is sick any form of performance is a horrible thing to do. Either you agree or you don't agree.
I agree, even for our purposes.
Thank you. Yes. And also for that, that's the point I'm making, that there must be a limit here. So for performance, which we all want, there are certain things you cannot do. For example, you also cannot hold somebody hostage for 2 days just because you want performance. You wouldn't do that, correct?
I'm glad you agree with our position.
Thank you.
That was also unreasonable from the public protector's side as well.
Absolutely.
To explain the performance. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you, ma'am. Okay, well, next, if you ever have another opportunity to give evidence under oath, please make sure that you don't do it on somebody else's statement, that you actually do your own statement, because it's unprofessional conduct. And you would know that as a lawyer, because when you swear, we assume that you have read the things yourself, not that they have been put by somebody else, because otherwise that somebody else is not here to be cross-examined. So it becomes unfair. But I'm sure it's a lesson learned, isn't it?
I disagreed with you, so let us then keep it there where we have disagreed.
So you think it's a good thing? You disagree that it's a bad thing to sign a statement with the things that you have not read? Is that what you disagree with?
No, I have explained myself, Advocate Mpofu, on those issues, and I have no intention of reopening what we have dealt with.
Okay, fine. Well, it's up to you. If you don't want to learn any lessons, ma'am, there's nothing I can do. But I thought, at least because you said you had legal training, that it might help you in the future if you ever consider practicing law. But that's fine. Thank you. And thank you, Chairperson. I think, as I said, this was
thank you.
I was just clarifying for yourselves, but no.
Thank you, Advocate Mpofu. Thank you very much. I'll just take